Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad. In today's program, we are going to take two important developments for discussion. The first relates to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's visit to Pakistan, and the second one relates to Pakistan urging the United Nations Security Council to act against terrorism. Let's begin with the first one. Let me quote some important excerpts from Pakistan's Foreign Office statement regarding this particular high-level visit by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. On the invitation of Prime Minister Mohammed Sharif, President of Turkey, His Excellency Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan will be visiting Pakistan from 12th to 13th of February 2025, and he is going to be accompanied by a high-level delegation including ministers and senior officials as well as corporate leaders. During the visit, Prime Minister Sharif and President Erdogan will co-chair the 7th session of the Pakistan-Turkey High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council. At the conclusion of the session, a joint declaration and a number of important agreements, MOUs, are expected to be signed as well. The two leaders will also address a joint press stakeout, unquote. This particular statement by the Foreign Office goes on to talk about the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council and the details associated with that. At the end, this particular statement says, Pakistan and Turkey are bound by historic fraternal ties. The visit of the Turkish president and the holding of the 7th session of HLSSC would serve to further deepen the brotherly relations and enhance multifaceted cooperation between the two countries, unquote. Without wasting any further moment, let me quickly bring in our esteemed panel of guests who are joining us both in the studio as well as online to talk about this high-level visit. We are honored to be joined in the studio by Mr. Agha Iqrar Harun, Senior Analyst. Mr. Harun, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Also on phone line, we are joined by our correspondent, Shabbir Ahmad Wahgra. Shabbir, thank you very much for your time also, for being with us on the show tonight. Mr. Harun, if you allow me, let me go quickly towards Shabbir. Shabbir, what are the details? We have this particular statement by the Foreign Office as to what are going to be the primary engagements of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan over here in Pakistan on the invitation of Prime Minister Sharif. What further details do you have?
Yes, Jawad, this visit is indeed a very historic and important visit which is taking place. And according to the information, President Erdogan will arrive tonight, shortly he is expected to arrive in Islamabad, where he will be received by Prime Minister Sharif at Noor Khan Air Base. And after that, tomorrow there would be a number of activities which have been designed and which have been arranged to welcome President Erdogan, because Pakistan and Turkey, they are having not only historical but also exemplary relationship between the two countries exists. And tomorrow in the morning around 10 a.m., President Erdogan will leave Serena Hotel to reach Prime Minister House, where he will co-chair along with the Prime Minister of Pakistan 7th session of Pakistan-Turkey High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council. And to tell that how amazing this friendship between the two countries is, that whole avenue from the constitutional avenue, right from the Serena till Prime Minister House have been lit up. There are a number of activities have been arranged to welcome properly the esteemed guest and his delegation when they will leave and they will reach Serena tomorrow. And then there, as you pointed out, that there will be a high-level 7th session of the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council that would be followed by a joint declaration, and also there would be a number of agreements and MOUs will be signed, which will be signed between different G2G, government-to-government, and B2B, business-to-business companies, as many corporate leaders are also accompanying President Erdogan. So both President Erdogan and Prime Minister Sharif, they will witness the signing ceremony, and the two leaders also will address a joint stakeout as well. And then there will be a bilateral meeting between President Erdogan and Prime Minister Sharif that will also take place there. And after that, both the leaders then again will chair Pakistan-Turkey Business and Investment Forum later in the afternoon. That will be in Serena, and President Tayyip Erdogan and also Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif both will participate in that Pakistan-Turkey Business Investment Forum as well. That will be bringing together leading investors, companies, and business people from both sides. And then President Erdogan will also have the bilateral meeting with the President of Pakistan, Asif Ali Zardari, as well. And they also, if we go for the importance of this visit, there will be a number of agreements and MOUs will be signed, because if you remember that during last year when the Turkish Foreign Minister arrived, they have agreed that both countries need to work excessively to bring bilateral trade to $5 billion. That has been the target, has been set for next 3 years to bring it to $5 billion. And these agreements and MOUs are a step forward to achieve that target. And that during this 2 days visit, and the President Erdogan will also witness these signings, and also there will be other activities. Then First Lady is also having a number of activities. She will be also visiting Marif School in Islamabad. So these are all the activities that have been planned and that are on schedule.
An all-encompassing visit, this particular visit by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, a number of activities throughout the day, and also the First Lady of Turkey, Shabbir Wahgra, our correspondent. Thank you very much for the details. Mr. Harun, straight away jumping to the significance of this particular visit, as Shabbir has talked of, that a number of MOUs, which has also been stated in that press statement by the Foreign Office as well, a number of MOUs and agreements are going to be signed in diverse areas. Specifically talking about the Pakistan-Turkey High-Level Strategic Cooperative Council is going to happen after 2020, right?
Yes.
So almost with a gap of 5 years, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be the 7th, and both Prime Minister and President are going to co-chair this particular. There is going to be a joint declaration, a joint press statement. What is this high-level strategic cooperation council? What does that signify about this fraternal, brotherly relation between the two countries?
The name is very clear. It says you this is basically strategic partnership, and unfortunately it is going to be held after a lull of almost 5 years. And if you remember, basically there was a concept of trilateral cooperation: Pakistan, Turkey, and Azerbaijan. This was also a part of that. But unfortunately, the previous government halted everything. And what happened with the Turkey firm in Punjab, you know the whole story. They were disgraced and they were thrown from Punjab, although they have a very wonderful project over there. So come to the point. This is very important. This covers Tehami almost everything. Look, there are meetings, as mentioned by Wahgra Saab, B2Bs or their business community is also there. They will do the business communities and everything by themselves. You know, in today's world, there is no strategic partnership until unless you have a you can say collective business, that is trade. Without I mean mutual trade or bilateral trade, strategic partnership cannot go for a long time. But if you talk about the military to military relationship, particularly the drones, I mean Turkey had been very kind to us to provide state of the art vessels, which is we really desperately need in Indo-Pacific changing scenario. So they are supporting us in almost every sphere, particularly in military. If you talk to the military sphere, we are also providing support to them, but they are also providing too much support to us, particularly in the naval side. You know, technically naval side, Turkey had been far away by anybody historically. I mean, if you talked about the Ottoman Empire was spreaded by, consolidated by the naval ships. Come to the point, time is very short. I am very hopeful. The strategic partnership and this cooperation, this is SSL, this is very important, and there are things that are already in pipeline. They were halted for 5 years, and in these 2 days they will be, I mean, you can say, come out of the pipeline, and you will see the results within 1 year. And again, I am coming, this is not the only this will be a complete, very strategic, strong partnership of Azerbaijan, Turkey and Pakistan. This is trilateral, and you will see something would definitely come tomorrow about this.
So this particular bilateral relationship is deeply rooted in history, culture, similarity on so many fronts. You've also talked about how the military to military cooperation, and to give this particular bilateral relationship a further impetus, collective trade, investment, the cooperation in areas of tourism, banking sector are of crucial importance. So when we specifically talk about Pakistan and Turkey having their strategic locations within their own regions. Pakistan lies at the crossroads of South Asia, West Asia and Central Asia. Up in the north, it is connected with China. When we talk about Turkey, it lies at the crossroads of Asia and connects to Europe as well.
Middle East, Eastern Europe,
exactly,
and Europe.
So keeping this particular geographic locations of both the countries.
Honestly speaking, Turkey strategic position, location and geopolitical positioning is very, 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 very important for Pakistan, because look, the Eastern Europe is the place where Pakistan is yet to be there. This is basically you can say a packet where we had not been there very strongly. And Turkey has a very, very strong strategic relationship, connectivity, border connectivity and historical connectivity with the Eastern Europe, because Ottoman Empire had been ruling the entire Eastern Europe. So Turkey can open windows for us in the Eastern Europe, and we are definitely here. You know, when the RCD, Turkey, Iran, Pakistan had been connected through the RCD in past. But unfortunately, after the 79 development in the region, the both sides, the Iran side and Pakistan side, this was disconnection. And even after that, we recently tried. 4 or 5 years ago, we tried through a railway link from Pakistan, Iran, and to the Turkey. This couldn't work also because the Iran situation, it had been turbulent with not with us, with other two countries. So the connectivity is the more important thing, because we cannot realize $5 billion target until unless our cargo is cheaper. But our cargo is very expensive because we are using mostly the air cargo, you know. So this is the very important issue. Both countries needs to sit together and decide how we can minimize. And the B2B and the companies are there. They are actually more working on particularly, and one point, very important point, you know, Ukraine had been a wheat basket for Turkey for centuries. But after this Ukraine war, you know, this Ukraine wheat, you can say the transportation or supply is, sometimes it happens, sometimes doesn't happen, because at Ozorov, Bay, sometimes Ukrainian vessels having the wheat, they had been blocked. So Pakistan can be a wheat basket, particularly for Turkey.
Very important point made. Mr. Agha, Iqrar, Haroon, senior analyst, thank you very much for taking time out for views on news tonight. Really appreciate that. Let's talk about the second segment. Pakistan's permanent representative to the United Nations, Mr. Munir Akram, has urged the United Nations Security Council to address the dangers posed by the Afghanistan-based terrorist groups with the same urgency it applies to IS and Al-Qaeda elsewhere. Munir Akram has also pointed out that more than 24 terrorist groups operate inside Afghanistan, which also serve as the main hub for ISK's recruitment and facilitation. Mr. Munir Akram has also highlighted the importance of the requirement of international support in combating the cross-border terrorist attacks in Pakistan. Mr. Munir Akram has also talked about how Pakistan decimated terrorism earlier and now confronts the threats such as the TTP, IS and the Majid Brigade operating from the safe havens across the borders from inside Afghanistan. At the same time, you have also seen the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism Under Secretary General Vladimir Voronkov has said that terrorism remains a significant threat to global peace and security, one that no state can confront in isolation. We also know for a fact that the Afghan Taliban had the international commitment and responsibility to take a concrete and a decisive action against the militant outfits and terrorist organizations which were present there. But unfortunately, no concrete action to fulfill that international obligation has been done so far by the Afghan de facto authorities. Rather, there has been a pattern of denial as to the presence of these terrorist groups there in Afghanistan. So this particular urgency that has been emphasized by Pakistan's permanent representative at the United Nations Security Council. We're talking about this, and also in the light of that particular report that has been submitted to the United Nations Security Council by the Secretary General of the United Nations himself. For that, we are honored to be joined on Skype by Mr. Hassan Khan, Afghan affairs expert. Mr. Hassan Khan, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. We really appreciate that. Looking at this particular statement, Mr. Khan, he has urged the United Nations Security Council to take an action against terrorism and terrorist groups, and with the same urgency as which is expressed or shown regarding IS and Al-Qaeda. What do we understand of this particular thing? Do we understand when it comes to international response to this particular menace of terrorism, there is selection on the part of the major powers?
Thank you very much, Tehami. And I think you rightly pointed it out at the end of your statement. And even Munir Akram has also referred to that the urgency and the seriousness when the international community is showing toward fighting the terror networks, particularly the IS and the Al-Qaeda. It's not showing that concern to the various terrorist networks. Almost, he said, 2 dozens of terrorist other terrorist networks, and specifically the biggest one, the TTP, which is using Afghan side and targeting in Pakistan, the civilian committing terrorist activity. The world is not showing that concern, and it is a matter of concern for Pakistan. So why? Munir Akram has, I think, this time, the way he presented the case, there were more new, what we call it, developments, particularly when Pakistan handed over a number of bodies of the terrorists who belong to the Taliban ranks and file to the Afghan authorities. They accepted the same. You know, the famous case of Badruddin. He was the son of the Badghi's deputy governor. And the other one, day before yesterday, another one who was from Khost, his body was given to the Taliban officials. And unfortunately, in Afghanistan, their bodies were received as Shaheed, and people welcomed them. So it means that Munir Akram presented these things and saying that we have evidences showing that not only the Afghan soil is being used, but there is a support for these terror groups which are operating from Afghan soil, particularly crossing the border and committing crimes in Pakistan. And it's not only, I think, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, she also spoke about the terror outfits operating from Afghanistan, specifically IS and ISKP and Al-Qaeda. And you might have heard the statement of another Azerbaijan ambassador to Pakistan. So day before yesterday, when he was speaking to one of the conferences in Islamabad, he referred to the threat which being posed to the neighboring countries emanating from Afghanistan. So almost, I think now, the Pakistan, it was initiated Pakistan's from the very beginning that Afghanistan is very unstable. As Munir Akram says, even the UN previous reports also refer to 20 various terror syndicates operating from Afghanistan. So I think Pakistan is right in that demanding from the world that it's not the time to show weakness and are being selective while dealing with the terrorist networks. These are, I think, the same, whether it is
There are multiple reports, Mr. Khan, on the part of the United Nations, the Sanction Monitoring Committee team's reports, also the Secretary General reports to the United Nations Security Council, alluding to this particular fact that how there has been support from the de facto authorities in Afghanistan, also especially to the red line. Pakistani authorities consider the band Fitna al-Khawarij, the band Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. Also, you pointed out multiple reports mentioning that there are over 20 terrorist groups which are operating from Afghanistan soil. Keeping those facts in view, would these terrorist groups continue to operate from Afghanistan? Because so much emphasis has been made already. Pakistan has been trying to sensitize the international community as to their responsibility in order to address or help or support address this particular menace. What are the likely options? I'll come back to you, Mr. Khan, for that particular detailed view of yours. For now, we are also honored to be joined in the studio by Mr. Major General Retired Zahid Mahmood, Senior Analyst. General Mahmood, thank you very much for your time, for being with us. Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Looking forward to have an insightful discussion with you. Mr. Ahsan Hamid Durrani, Director at the Policy Research Center. Mr. Durrani, thank you very much for your time also, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. General Mahmood, by looking at this particular statement, when Mr. Munir Akram urges the international community, the United Nations Security Council, to consider or act against or help address this particular menace of terrorism with the same urgency it applies to IS and Al-Qaeda elsewhere. Firstly, do we understand there is a selective focus on the part of the international community in where to focus, where not to focus, and given the fact that how Pakistan had been at the front line in the war on terror for such a long time, giving such huge sacrifices, why would we be witnessing this selective focus, if that is the case?
Thank you, Jawad. I think there is no doubt now, in our mind at least, that this international community, or unfortunately the international application and the politics, has the dual standards. I mean, mentioning of such aspect in his speech at a very serious forum, and the highest forum, that's the United Nations Security Council. And he is clearly, he's indicating towards this double standards. So what he wanted to, tell them was that the value of the life in this part of the world, the value of a life of a human being, or a value of a human being, is just like the same as of the value in West, So the humanity, if it is they are under crisis, it has the same effect which you feel in in the West. So that's how we want the international community to act against this terrorism and whatever is happening in this part of the world. Secondly, whatever Afghanistan is today, that is the byproduct or the aftermath of the war in Afghanistan, which was the war of the United States, the West. They were fighting here and we were collaborating with them. We were supporting them for the international peace. Now it is the international responsibility that once we are asking for peace in this part of the world, they must act with a lot of responsibility as we have done for them. So this is the reciprocal basis, what we are asking them, They have the, Jawad, we need to understand, they have the clear understanding what all is happening in this part of the world. But unfortunately, at the moment, the wars are being fought by the proxies. And then there are, the politics is at, a lot of politics is being done. And these proxies have unfortunately become part of the instrument of those policies in this, especially in this region and the region around China and Russia and all that. So that's the huge responsibility which international community must take and respond accordingly.
Right. You talked of this particular term, reciprocity, right? So there is an expectation on the part of Pakistani nation who had to sacrifice in such a huge way in the war on terror. Close to 100,000 innocent lives lost, over $120 billion lost to the economy as well. Now, reciprocation on both the sides. So it is expected, and we look forward to the international community, also the major powers, whose war this particular war was, and Pakistan just collaborated, as you mentioned, for international peace at that particular point in time. Pakistan went on to facilitate the Afghan peace and reconciliation efforts also that led into striking of the Doha Peace Accord between the US and the de facto authorities which are ruling currently Afghanistan. So expectations or hope still stick around with what could be the possible response further ahead by the US and other major international powers and the UN as well. What about the Afghan Taliban? Pakistan did a lot for Afghan people also, for Afghanistan also, provided a safe air corridor at that particular point in time also. It had been advocating Afghan people's case at all the international fora about the dire humanitarian crisis, the economic crisis, the kind of sufferings Afghan people were faced with. Why the Afghan Taliban have been unable to show any sort of reciprocity?
Jawad, well, I am not surprised. At least I am not surprised, because this has been happening with us throughout our history of our relationship with Afghanistan. You know, Taliban, unfortunately, they've got themselves associated with the economics which is attached with this terrorism. They've got themselves attached with the economics which is there with the war in Afghanistan. You see, for the last so many years now, they have been benefited from the lot of economics which was there of this war. A lot of dollars were coming into Afghanistan, a lot of weapons, ammunition was coming into Afghanistan, and now they're not foreseeing any future for Afghanistan in the near future until unless huge international effort is made there and a lot of economic activity is generated. I don't find any alternative in Afghanistan where they can attach themselves with that alternative and they can be like statesmen, they can implement the statescraft. So this is a government which has been formed as a byproduct of the war. So the war has always been their policy. Now they want to take advantage of that policy. That's why they become a kind of a franchise to the international players to act as their proxies and take advantage of that economy which is attached.
Acting as a proxy. Acting as a proxy.
Yes, you're talking about the responsible government or responsible people are talking about, you're hinting at the Pakhtunwali conduct, which code of their, you know, that Pakhtunwali code, on which they treat the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, Fitna al-Khawarij as their friends and brothers, but they don't treat us. So this is very clear that they have nothing to do with Islam, they have nothing to do with the rich traditions of Afghanistan, they have to do nothing with the Pakhtunwali or such codes. So they are the terrorists. The terrorism is their lead policy, and you know they are only interested in the money which is their illegal spectrum which is attached with their policies. And unfortunately, at least I was not expecting that they will. I was very much expecting the way they are behaving it now, and that's why Pakistan must collaborate with the regional powers and the international powers to control Afghanistan. And we need to tell the international community, look, don't do anything for us. Do something for yourself, because the future threat is emanating towards Europe and towards America.
The rest of the
and
world
this
also.
This is a hub. This is a hub, and this will they will again will be at ground zero. You know.
Right. Let me bring in Mr. Durrani. Mr. Durrani, reciprocity from the international community, especially when we talk about the United States of America, as General Mahmood has pointed out, it was US's war in which Pakistan collaborated for international peace. Now, Pakistan has also been able to break the backbone of this particular menace earlier. Now we are confronted with this particular threat of TTP, which is operating from across the border. What sort of cooperation or support is expected from the US in particular at this particular critical juncture?
Well, I think US and Pakistan, both militaries share a long history of cooperation, especially in counterterrorism domain, and they have been exchanging best practices. They conduct counterterrorism drills quite often, and a lot of our military officials have gone to US military academies to bring those those best practices to Pakistan. That's happening on the military to military level, but I think on policy level, I mean, there are a lot of centers of power in US as well. So one is White House, one is Pentagon, then there's the State Department. currently the trajectory of US foreign policy towards South Asia, I mean particularly towards this AFPAC region that they call it, Afghanistan and Pakistan, is not very, I would say,
they're not,
it's not very bright.
That's not their priority.
It's not
now,
their priority.
So I understand your point of view also regarding as to there could be the possibility of difference in the approach regarding any certain issue of various departments within that particular system of the United States of America. But there was a deal that was struck by that administration of that particular time under the former president. Now he's also the president, President Donald Trump. That Doha Peace Accord was struck, and that put an obligation on the Afghan Taliban to not allow the Afghan soil to be used against any other country. What I need to understand at this particular point in time is whether there be differences among different departments. What about the sanctity of that particular deal? Isn't it incumbent upon any of the US administration, whoever takes over power, whether it happens to be the Biden administration, whether it happens to be the Trump administration, to impress upon the Afghan Taliban that this is the legal instrument that we both as parties reached, and you need to implement that in letter and spirit and abide by it?
Yeah, I think the broader framework of the Doha deal was that Afghan soil would not be used for transnational terrorism. But I mean, because there was only a public version of the deal, the secret annexures, I mean the classified annexures, no, it has not seen the light of the day. It's not in the public knowledge. We're not sure if by transnational terrorism the US meant only Al-Qaeda and ISIS. I mean, are we sure that they have mentioned TTP, the Fitnatul Khawarij in that? Because our primary concern, Pakistan's primary concern right now, we don't feel threatened from either Al-Qaeda or ISK. We feel threatened from TTP, which has been forging attacks, ambushing our security forces across the border and doing it on a daily basis. And the border, I mean, and what we have seen is that the Taliban have not taken any responsibility for that. They have given a free hand to those terrorists in Afghanistan. We have seen that there exists a huge black market of leftover US weapons, which again, it's the US responsibility to dispose that of, or either ask the Afghan authorities, the Taliban, to curb on that black market which exists openly to the TTP, to procure weapons, sophisticated weapons, snipers, night goggles, and all these different equipments that the US military have been using. And then we have seen that, not just that, I mean, Hassan Saab mentioned that a recent example of province in Baghdis, where the son of a deputy governor of Afghan Taliban of Afghanistan now was found involved in TTP ranks attacking Pakistan, and then his body was returned and he was welcomed as a martyr. So I mean, these incidents, along with the UN analytical support reports, which suggest that the TTP have been receiving not just moral and theological support, but also financial support from Afghan Taliban. So I mean, all these things point toward the fact that there is a corroboration between them, and Afghan Taliban are not serious about this issue. And let me tell you that they need right now, Afghan Taliban need Pakistan's support. With Trump's new policy of cutting off aid completely to Afghanistan, and we don't expect any resumption of that, by the way. So I mean, they have been relying on the US aid till now. Even after the US withdrawal, they have been putting in money in the Afghanistan bank. They have been providing humanitarian aid to Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, there is no structure of governance, by the way. Their economy is completely dependent, and for the last 20 years, it's not, I won't say it's the fault of the Taliban, for the last 20 years it has been dependent on foreign aid. So they need regional stability to take off their economy and to deliver to their masses. I mean, otherwise it would, it's an Afghanistan history that, you know, one group comes up and topples the other. So I mean, what would the Taliban see is that if they can expect a rebellion either within their forces if they fail to deliver on governance. I mean, right now they have been acting as if they are in the past through military to militancy through forging proxy wars. I mean, right now they need to assume the responsibility that they have the responsibility of millions of Afghans who are looking forward to them to deliver on governance, to improve the economy. And for that, they need support of Pakistan for trade, for connectivity, for regional connectivity.
For the resumption of the international aid as well.
Exactly, for multinational. And Pakistan has been, by the way, Pakistan has been very vocal about unfreezing of Afghan assets.
Exactly.
Almost $7 billion in US reserve. Pakistan has been very vocal and very vociferous about that. I mean, but we have not seen that reciprocity from Afghan Taliban as well in terms of curbing on TTP. So I mean, it's time for them to realize.
This is a very important point that you have made, Mr. Durrani. Let me take this point to Mr. Hassan Khan. Mr. Khan, this importance and the dependence of Afghanistan on foreign trade, foreign aid rather, could this particular resumption be conditioned to their fulfillment of their promise as per the Doha Peace Accord? What's your understanding regarding it?
Look, Jawad, I think if you go by the normal standard of governance or leadership, then yes, they are responsible, and definitely they will look into this this fact that no doubt they are dependent on foreign aid and foreign trade. And at the moment, Afghanistan is an isolated; it is living in a cocoon type of things. Nobody is, the banking system is collapsed. It is not interlinked with the international community. So you can't do the proper trading. So the trading is just like in the hundreds or 200 years old methods of trading goods with goods or with the cash-like things. I think Afghan Taliban need to understand that they are no more a fighting group or a guerrilla. Now they are responsible for a governance. One thing which I want to say is that in a statement, the Major General he has pointed it out that Taliban are giving refuge, are keeping the TTP terrorists in Afghanistan under the code of Pashtunwali. I think this is the misrepresentation or misunderstanding of Pashtunwali if Taliban are doing that. In Pashtunwali, if somebody take refuge with you, so you can provide him the shelter until and unless he doesn't use your home or your soil against anybody else. He will ensure that he will live in peace. Only then you can say that, okay, you can live. If he use your soil against somebody else, then you become an enemy of the person who your guest is targeting. So if Afghan Taliban says that they are providing shelters or safe havens to the TTP terrorists under the code of Pashtunwali. So it directly means that they are now the enemies of Pakistan, because if my enemy, you are housing my enemy, and he is using your house against me, then under the code of Pashtunwali, you become an enemy of that person. So I think Afghan Taliban are trying to play very smart and confuse the world. Whenever there is something, they say it is under the code of Islam. When there is another thing they want to protect, it says it's under the code of Afghans. So I think this is quite obvious. And the world understand it, that what they are doing now, right at the moment, it's not under Sharia, that the steps they have taken, particularly the gender apartheidism. So it is not as per the Sharia or the other things which they are doing under the Afghan code. So I think Afghan Taliban, this is the time that they understand that in their first term, they lost the government, and they caused the death of millions of Afghans by providing safe havens or guarding a person who was a terrorist in the eyes of the world. So again, they are repeating the same mistake. At the moment, it is not only the TTP which Pakistan is raising concern about that they are using the Afghan soil, but the entire world, I think, is now in one wise that Afghan soil is a threat to the world peace. So if Taliban do not listen to this call or these concerns of the international community, so maybe it is tomorrow or day after tomorrow, they are repeating what they have done in the earlier term. So if they want to stay in power, so it is good. They have brought a semblance of peace in the entire Afghanistan. They have brought under one flag the entire Afghanistan. But now I think they need to provide they need to serve the people of Afghanistan. Look at this Kunduz incident happened where almost 30 people were killed, and mostly they were the government employees because they were waiting outside a bank for their salaries, and at that time it was targeted by the IS. On the social media, I have seen Afghan who were, I think, in a way, congratulating that it is a great day. It means that there is a growing resentment against the Taliban. There is a growing hate against the Mullah, Taliban, the Alim, and even the Islamic system, which they are imposing there. So I think it is the time for Taliban to understand and to realize that the way they are conducting the governance and the way they are dealing with their own people, with the opposition, with the international community, it's not going to last for long.
It's not going to last for a longer time. Mr. Hassan Khan, Afghan Affairs expert, joining us on Skype. Thank you very much for taking time out for our show tonight. We really appreciate that. General Mahmood, are there any peace spoilers at work at the moment? Because during the Afghan peace and reconciliation efforts, we saw the Pakistani authorities giving the irrefutable evidence at that particular point in time about the role of the peace spoilers at that particular time. Are they playing that particular role again at this particular point in time? If yes, so it leads us to understand that they would definitely be helping these terrorist outfits financially as well. So in order to curb that particular financial support, what is required when it comes to the responsibility of the United Nations Security Council as a major organ of the world body when it is mandated to ensure international peace and security?
Look, Jawad, let me very clearly say that today Pakistan is a victim of a state-sponsored terrorism and a proxy war, which is coming from India. And unfortunately, this interim setup in Afghanistan, they have become they have become as a client. They have become a client of the proxy, who is the sponsor. Sponsor is India. This interim setup is a client, and TTP is a client, and Pakistan is the target. So it is the responsibility of the sponsor to take care of the economics, to provide all kinds of support to their clients, to target the target country. And this is very clear. Kulbhushan is with Pakistan. What big evidence the international community wants from us, you know. Pakistan has been giving dossiers, and Afghanistan and India are only two countries about for which we have the very serious evidence, and we have been showing it to the international community. Now the weapons which are found here, unfortunately, which were used in the terrorist acts against Pakistan, were unfortunately NATO coded weapons, the American weapons, $7 billion. So this is the responsibility of United States of America. In every briefing, in every interaction with the media, Trump is always, you know, criticizing Mr. ex-president Biden, you know. So he must criticize Biden also for an uncomprehensive withdrawal from Afghanistan. This was not a comprehensive withdrawal. So they have left Afghanistan in an extremely chaotic situation, confused Afghanistan with a lot of weapons, $7 billion weapons are there. So now these weapons are available to all the terrorist franchises, ISK, Taliban, and there is a collaboration between all these terrorist organizations. If Taliban are saying that the ISIS is against them, it is charade. I tell you, they all are collaborating. They have become franchises, they have become clients, and the sponsor states will be using them not only against Pakistan, against Russia, against China, against Central Asia, and then the other people would be using them against the West and the United States of America. So entire international peace is at stake. So international community needs to understand this. And Jawad, to be very honest, Pakistan must carve a strategy. Directly we can deal with this menace within the boundaries of Pakistan. Even we will pursue them in Afghanistan. It's very clear. State of Pakistan is very clear. But you know, the regional collaboration is important because there are around 25-30 organizations, proscribed organizations, and many are, the act in Russia killing, this ISIS was involved in that. So
Again.
Russians are target, Chinese are target, Central Asia is target, so international communities targets, and then these
this particular
these
threat at
clients
this-
must be nabbed in all
regional
fields.
cooperation
Yes.
also. Unfortunately, we are short of time. A number of other aspects need to be discussed in detail. Mr. Durrani, very quickly, closing comments. Do you think FATF could come with its role when it comes to the peace spoilers financing these terrorist outfits operating from Afghan soil?
Unfortunately, I don't. I think FATF is a very political tool. It's a very political institution, and heavily lobbied by India and Western forces and powers. So I don't think so. I mean,
But it's got
FATF
the
has a-
mandate of addressing the issue of money laundering and terror financing. And when the terror financing and money laundering for that particular purpose is happening for those terrorist outfits operating from Afghan soil, what ideally it should be doing?
Exactly, and I mean, it's not that how it works. I mean, usually, I mean, when you're supporting proxies, it happens through covert means, and there are no ways for FATF or for Pakistan to prove
Mr.
in
Durrani,
FATF.
unfortunately, we are
Yeah.
short of time. I'll have to wrap up the show right over here. Mr. Hassan Ahmad Durrani, Director of the Policy Research Center, thank you very much for being with us on the show. Major General Retired Zahid Mahmood, Senior Analyst. General Mahmood, thank you very much for your time also for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. With that, we come to the end of today's episode. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.